Islam.
Islam.
Get the prayer done. Prayer up. Father on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
And
my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
And
by day. To his holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Ashe. Brother Amari, can I get a count of how many forms you got?
We have.
This is how I'm telling the Moors online. Peace, love, and hotep. We'll just start with our, while you're getting that count, we'll just start with our reading. To be read every meeting. A warning from the Prophet. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. So we'll just quickly touch on something quick fast. Keep in mind that Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that it is earnestly hoped that the Moor Science Temple of America would not be compared to any Back to Africa movement. Right? It is earnestly hoped that there'll be no connection whatsoever to any type of Back to Africa anything. Right? Why? Because the most agitating and radical speakers in the conscious community are these so-called people who say that they come from Africa and that they're slaves. So we want to make sure that, we don't push that idea of back to Africa, because we're in Africa already, so there's nowhere to go back to. We want to make sure that we don't push the idea of slavery, because we know that the slaves are the Slavics, and that has nothing to do with us. Right? We advocate peace and not destruction. So all these people, going out there, they're mad, the Europeans shot somebody, and they want to tear down communities and stuff like that. Totally against what we're about. You know what I mean? So we want to also too make sure that we're drawing a line between us, active, civic-minded, faithful, trustworthy Moors, and everybody else who's claiming that they're for the revolution and whatever like that, because as soon as we start crossing these lines or whatever, now we become down with the Back to Africa stuff, the slavery thing, and it's easier to get Moors in the assumed jurisdiction, because Moors have this idea that, we can go amongst the zombies and not get bit. You will get bit if you go around zombies. That's just how it goes. Somebody eventually gets bit when you're going into the horde of zombies. I don't care if you got, Gatling gun, machete, whatever like that. One individual in the crew is gonna get bit when you go around the zombies. Right? And then we're witnessing that right now with people who are supposed to be adept or whatever like that, and then they're doing things contrary, or they're acting like zombies when you're supposed to not have gotten bit if you're adept or whatever. Right? Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. That statement applied back then. Right now, if you don't try out your card, if you don't present yourself, they're going to assume you're a nigger. So you better have your nationality card up, and when these highwaymen, foreigners or whatever, come up, start trying to push their jurisdiction or whatever on you, you better have something to say, sorry, no jurisdiction. You know what I mean? Because people like to play this game of, well, what's nationality gonna do, and how's nationality gonna stop a bullet and stuff like that. And I keep telling these people, find me a Moor that they shot up, choked out on the corner, hung themselves in their cell after they got kidnapped or whatever. Find me one. Find me a Moor that stooped to the level so low that, they hung themselves in their cell. With a garbage bag that they never had in their cell. on a pole that's taller, that's shorter than them, right?
And then had the decency to replace the bag.
Right, yeah, and then, right? Rest in peace and all that, but like we can't be playing.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Like there's too much convolution, too much confusion, too much stuff going on right now. In those things happening for Moors to get caught up in that. You know what I mean? Our duty, our job is to make our people, or let our people know about their nationality and birthrights,
right.
so they don't end up in situations where they're getting stopped for some traffic ticket and 3 days later you're dead in a cell for a traffic ticket. You didn't even do nothing. Traffic ticket. People getting murdered for a traffic ticket. You know what I mean? The brother in Cincinnati.
Oh,
like.
Just shot him in the head.
Right? Now, you know, let's look at it from a Moorish perspective, right? You get pulled over, you present your stuff. Nationality card, paper, right to travel paperwork, right to travel card, whatever, you present your stuff. Guaranteed, Moore's not speeding off or whatever to even get in a situation where a guy oops and shoot the guy in the head or whatever like that. You know what I mean? It ain't happening with Moors. People can say whatever that they want, but it's not happening with Moors.
When you're an active Moor.
When you're active. Right? It might happen with passive Moors, it might happen with religious Moors, it might happen with, you know what I mean, Moors who aren't, you know what I mean, civic minded. But the civic minded active Moors or whatever, yeah, we might get arrested once in a while. Yeah, we might see behind the bars or whatever like that, but ain't no suicide.
That's me.
Ain't no getting killed in the cell and stuff like that for being a Moor. Like, that's not happening. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. Don't get tripping. Don't get caught up, you know, oh, Kudos violating the Prophet telling us to show the European our cards or whatever. In situations where that needs to be done. You're not just going around just showing cards. I'm more just showing cards or whatever. That's the perspective. That's the perspective. You know what I mean? The perspective is when you have an issue and nationality is required, you better have something to put on the record to show that you are who you say that you are.
I have the old nationality card. Does it matter?
If we put it like this, you use what works. So if that works, if that's worked, use it. If you're having issues, maybe you need to upgrade to the next level of card, so that what you present is I don't want to say accepted, but looked at as any other card that you pull out your wallet and they just take it. You know what I mean? So it should be like that. Any other card you have in your wallet that you present, nationality card, it should be the same thing. It shouldn't be a different. They shouldn't be looking at nationality card, whatever. But then they'll take your bank card, or they'll take a license, or they'll take whatever. Like the same way that they look at those stuff, they should look at the nationality card when it's presented. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. Right? So, if you lose confidence in this, don't have fezzes on, turbans on, nationality card, and then saying that, you know, this is not the flag. We have to go make a flag to be Moors because, you know, the Moroccans and they have the flag and then we have to make, but then you're still gonna say that you're Moors. No, like, you know, completely disconnect. Don't say that, you know, oh, you know, I love Noble Drew Ali, but there's some things that I didn't agree with that, and then still talk about sovereignty and talk about things that are relative to Moors. If you're gonna jump ship, jump completely off ship, Go back to being nigger or whatever like that, and try having success speaking civically, speaking rights, speaking whatever in a nigger status. Right? Don't try to, hold on to the Moorish movement or what Noble Drew Ali brought still, but then go and do stuff contrary to what was presented. Right? Because if you lose faith in the Prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the Prophet, found you. The state where the Prophet found us was dead. Civiliter mortus was our state. Stateless was our state. Dead in the eyes of the law, whatever. Nigger, slave mentality. And anywhere, anything other than being Moorish American is the state where a Prophet found you. So go back to that if you don't have any faith in this.
Well, I want to put it this way, like I don't not have faith. I have total inside. I think that I know it's real. Nationality is real. Birthrights are real. But when we try to defend ourselves, and when we try to talk to family members, or when we get encounters with police, all they do is railroad us and try to belittle us, tell us that it doesn't work, and push over court dates and drag on and drag on, and the money situation still goes on, and nothing changes. It's not that I want to give up. I don't want to. But then when I hear that, I don't know.
Contrary, how they're dealing with you, and this is clashing. So
It's like
the idea is that we have to keep in mind that this is divine and national. This is divine and national at all times. And then you have to remember that as a European, you're a bigger threat than us. Because the structure that's out there is a European structure. Right? So when you say, well, don't call me by that name, I have allegiance with the Moors and whatever like that, you're undermining, the Pope and all that stuff, who you're supposed to be giving honor to, kiss the ring and all that. Right? So you become a threat. You're coming from the perspective of, I want to bring back before Spain. That created them. You're bringing a perspective, I want to bring back before the Treaty of Tordesillas. I want to bring back not calling Moors Spanish anymore. Not calling them Negro anymore. Not calling them black anymore. Let's call them Moors. Mm-hmm. Which means that now you can't be called white people anymore. Mm-hmm. You have to start calling yourself Scottish, Dutch, French, Greek, or whatever like that. Okay. Which is totally against the democracy order. And like we're saying, there's Moors who get the battles too. Mm-hmm. But they're not looking at it as a loss when they get challenged by the colonial forces. They don't look at it as, they're stopping me from my birthright. They look at, the blows that we gotta take because we haven't listened to the Prophet for 100 years. You know what I mean? And then also too, remember that there's other Europeans who are standing up for Moorish history as well. Mm-hmm. They might not say that they're Moors, right? But you have, William Cooper wrote Behold the Pale Horse. And he put King Alfred Plant in his book. He put Treaty of Verona in his book. He put that the black nobility of Europe are pale people, not dark-skinned people, in his book. Right? Mm-hmm. But he got assassinated. So it's like, right? Because he's giving up the goods. But that's okay, because his perspective is that this is not about me or whatever. This is about, I have a job of putting out information because I have it. And I'm going to put the information out regardless of what. If I lose my life, it doesn't even matter, because at least the information, the true information, got out. And he's a European talking like that. You have Rick Smith, right, who we did the Skype with. European. Did a Skype with the Moors on Noble Jubilee Day. European. All these Asiatics around here, right, who we say scholar, master teacher, or whatever like that, didn't want to do the lecture. Well, no, we can't really, you know what I mean? Moors and we asked a Europeans game. No charge, nothing like that. No lecture fee, nothing like that. Oh yeah, I got information on the Moors. I'd love to share information with you guys. European. Did a free Skype. And then Moors want 500, 600 to do a 2-hour Skype lecture. Europeans gonna be game though to do it for free. Yeah, sorry.
Sometimes we tend to forget that.
You have to talk up a little too.
Sometimes we tend to forget that when we say we're Moors or you have no jurisdiction over us, sometimes we expect the opposing party to just say, okay, when their job is literally to railroad you.
That's their job.
That's just their job, man. So sometimes when we feel that we go through that we're not doing our work, or that what we're doing is maybe not true or nothing like that, it's supposed to be like that. That's a sad thing. But the thing is, your birthright is who you are. You're more by birthright. So we don't have to prove anything to nobody. They have something to prove to us. That's why they continue on to push you.
So is there going to be a time where this would where people will be able to use their Moorish identification card and not get bothered, or
that time's right now.
That time's right now.
There's Moors right now who don't get bothered at all.
I don't.
They show their nationality card and no issues. No issues. Even if they did illegal U-turn, whatever like that, nationality card, highwayman's like, oh, you know, sorry about that, you know what I mean? Just be careful next time, you know, look both ways before you cross the street or whatever like that, and he's going about his business. There's more. We did a class with sister who got her mortgage discharged.
Yes, I remember watching that.
And they sent her a letter saying, here, you had a debt with us, it's discharged. Don't worry about it.
I watched that one.
No.
They had a lecture where
right. When he's talking about exactly, right.
Okay.
Yeah, the mortgage class. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? So, you know, the issue that we have is that people are forgetting that this is also divine. So some people are a little bit. Some people have a closer relationship with the netters. Some people have a closer relationship with the ethers. That the ethers will assist them. The ethers will make them invisible. So that highwayman, you know, passes by them and they don't get seen. And that's just what it is for that individual. Because they're lined up like that, right? Whether it's because they study 24 hours a day, whether it's because they have a blue candle at 1 o'clock every morning. They wake up to light this blue candle in honor of, you know, whatever spiritual force or whatever like that, and whatever it works for them. But that's based on the individual. That's not something across the board for any and everybody. You know what I mean? Like with Supreme, right? You know, he wants that situation of dealing with them, like, you know what I mean? Put the status on the record, proof to them or whatever. He wants that situation.
Learn from it.
Because he's learning from it. He's not looking at it as, oh, they stopped me, now they're violating or whatever. He's looking at, oh, learning lesson.
That's it.
And that's it. Anytime he engages them, oh, about to learn something, let's see what I learned or whatever. Whatever they do, regardless of what they do. So it's the mentality of the individual, it's the energy of the individual, you know what I mean? You know, it's like when you went to Greece, and then the elder was telling you, you know, it might be Jesus or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Like, why is she coming up with that? Of all the things to line you up with or whatever, right? Why is she coming from that perspective? You know why? Because when, you know, you go over there, you're gonna be in the sun, you're gonna be darker than you usually are. You know what I mean? You have a beard, you got long hair. You know, you just might be, like, you know,
Jesus!
you just might be. They don't know. You know what I mean? They say he's gonna come back. You know what I mean? You might have just helped her carry her bag up the stairs or whatever. She's like, oh, this guy's Jesus, because nobody ever helped me carry my bags or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then little things that happen, we're supposed to, you know, put those things in our little bag, you know, our spiritual bag. And that's something that we pull out once in a while, you know, blow off the stuff, the experiences that we have, look at them, recognize, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, they just dismissed this or whatever. So if they're over here telling me, oh yeah, you can't or whatever, but then I have an experience that's contrary to these people's decision, then they're playing games. It's alright, you guys play, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna stop you guys from going to the sandbox, throwing sand in people's face or whatever. That's what you do in the sandbox, you know? I'd rather build castles or whatever like that, but hey, if you want to do the throw sand thing, do your thing. You know, I have my goggles on, like I'm ready to play in the sand with you guys. And it is what it is, you know? But it's small, right? Right? For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement. So this is everlasting. And nobody can even stop this if they try. They could point fingers, they could arrest people, they can do whatever they want. This is still gonna go on. This is still gonna carry on, regardless of what they do. Regardless of what they think that they're gonna do. Even if it's stuff they never thought about yet, they're already checkmated before they even decide to do something. Right? This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Right? Why is it everlasting? Because Allah guides this. Noble Drew Ali doesn't even guide this. And he's a founder. So if Allah guides this, then what we got to worry about if Allah's guiding this? If Allah's guiding this, we don't have a worry in the world. We just gotta stay on the program. We just gotta stay focused. You know, we just have to recognize that we haven't done anything for 80 years, 90 years, 100 years, and unfortunately, you know, law of retribution, you know, if you acquiesce, you know, can't complain when you get stuff, because you acquiesced. Shouldn't have acquiesced, right? So, know though, that
what's acquiesce?
To default.
Default.
Yeah, to give up early.
Early, okay.
Punk out.
Okay.
You know, like you can't punk out.
Can't punk out.
Because we already know, Allah got, you know, like we wouldn't be saying we're Moors. Right? And even with Europeans. You know what I mean? Like there's Europeans. Oh, another one, Latif Bey. Right? European. Going in the lodge, telling the lodge people, give the Moors back their stuff. Having lodge people going to the corporate governmental people to try to get him out of Kentucky. The European. Because he's standing up for Moors. They're like, forget out the house or whatever. We want him out the state. The lodge people. But you know, he's on, you know, Allah guides this. He's not worried about them or whatever. You guys are funny.
So wait. So he is in the lodge?
No, he's not in the lodge.
He's not in the lodge.
He's not in the lodge.
Oh, okay.
He's just, you know, an active European son.
Okay.
that recognizes that, oh, this is the Moors stuff or whatever all around here. This is the Moors land? And Mojo Ali and all that? Oh, okay. I get down with this, you know what I mean? Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, make people better citizens or whatever. I used to call myself white man and all that stuff. Now I gotta identify who I am. Oh, and then when I go check that history, realize that Moors rule there. And I've been lied to by my own people. Forget these guys. You know what I mean? Forget democracy. Let's get down with the Moors, the European.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
One way or the other.
One way or the other. Right? No, one way or the other, you'll come back. You know, either it's on their own, where, you know, like Lambo and Wilson, you know, start the Moorish Orthodox Church and all that stuff, you know what I mean? What's his face with the Dianetics and all that? Hubbard, Ronald Hubbard, Scientology and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? That's more science. Get Europeans from their low beastly level or whatever, the higher level of consciousness, so they can start whatever thinking again or whatever. You know, that's why you see all these Europeans going to NY all of a sudden. And now Europeans can be NY.
Get audited.
Right? Right? But the white man's the devil though.
It's in the lesson.
That's
You know, it's like no scales like this right now.
Yeah.
But it's
so,
alright.
So within time, I would assume everything should start balancing it out. Like right now, they're accepting cards. Eventually, we'll be able to discharge our
Yeah,
payments.
but remember, they're doing it already. It's already happening. It's just who's on the frequency that this thing is gonna work when they say, you know, discharge. We're gonna discharge stuff. They're not gonna go on the news and say that.
No.
But whoever sends them writs or whatever, they're gonna get their stuff taken care of.
Paperwork is very important, is what you're saying too, right?
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. But I mean, paperwork's only important if you write it.
That's it.
That's a problem I'm having right now. Like I tend to not have focus on getting it
Yeah.
written and out there.
And it's, you know, like for example, once again, Latif Bey, right? European. He writes all his own writs. He doesn't only write his own writs, he goes and buys paper and cuts his paper to legal size.
What, handwriting?
He doesn't go by, huh?
You mean cuts it and handwrites it?
No, like he types it or whatever. You know what I mean?
They buy their own paper,
But he
cut it.
buys his paper in sheets like this big and cuts it.
Why?
Because, you know, now it's his paper.
Oh shit. Okay.
You don't go Staples or whatever to go buy
I see
paper.
what you mean. I see. Okay.
He cut his paper for his writs.
Wow. So now he's putting power into it. Like, it's
Yeah,
my
that's,
paper.
that's more natural.
That's the
than
European.
Yeah.
That's smart, man. I like it. Start cutting paper.
Right?
Shit.
Let's
Right?
go buy shit.
I never found it out.
I don't got that time, man. You got too much time on your hands.
I spent one day cutting paper.
That's
Yeah. Right? So it's the level, it's you know, what,
that's high level.
how, yeah, you know, how are you looking at this thing? What's the perspective that you're looking at
Wow.
this? You know what I mean? And that's the perspective he's looking at. Yeah, buy my paper, cut it.
That's all.
You know what I mean? Like, can't knock it. That's, you know, going that far, yeah. Right? We got these questions out the way first. I think there was only two. First question. When the Prophet said, leave old business like it is and do all new business in your free national name or in my name, what did he mean by saying or in my name? So the idea is that there's a, do you want to check thing on this? Juridic?
Huh?
Juridic.
Juridic.
Now, Noble Jew Ali, there's you know, there's different perspectives as far as free national name, right? It could be the whole title, the appellation, El Bay Al or whatever on it. could be just the titles only, right? But free national name is how you do business going forward. Stuff that you have before, just like we're talking about. People want to get a ticket as a Negro, find out about Moor science, and then want to apply that to the ticket that they got as a Negro. Like, it doesn't work like that because you're violating the order. Because Juali said, keep all old business as it is, and all new business do it in your free national name. So if you got a ticket as a Negro, that's old business. So you should be dealing with that accordingly. You're not supposed to be bringing stuff forward to deal with it in the free national name. Now, if you're a national and then you get a ticket and then they try to, the VIN number says, straw man name, so we're going to use that name, not the name on the nationality card. Now that's new business. So you would do your defense to that claim that they're making or that suit that they're making in your free national name, because that's what you presented. They're the ones that are running a fraud or whatever, right? So when Noble Juali said, "Do it in my name," he was saying that for Moors to protect their property, because if they do it in the temple name at that time, you're talking about corruption. You're talking about you're putting your property into a trust that's corrupted, which we know now the trust is corrupted. The quote unquote Noble Juali trust that everybody talks about, the trust, the prophets trust and all that stuff, that's corrupted. Why is it corrupted? Because the temple's corrupted. It's nothing, nothing to get mad at. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? If
Is that all across?
that's all across. Right? Now, again, not all temples are corrupted. There's some of them doing what they're supposed to do from a legitimate perspective. But that trust is corrupted. But you never hear them talk about you never hear them talk about the trust from the perspective of Noble Juali only. They always tie the temple to it, because that's where the corruption comes from. But keep in mind that Noble Juali told the Moors that, nothing's wrong with the temple. It's the individuals that are in the seats in the temple that are the problem. It's the people who are claiming that they're adept and they live by a certain code, but then, when it's time to live by the code, you realize they're not dealing with anything on that level. They're dealing with things with a corrupt mindset, right? So when as we hear or with the question, what did he mean by put it in his name? That depends on your perspective of what Noble Juali is. Like, what is Noble Juali? Because some people would say, who is Noble Juali? Yeah, but Noble Juali is also a what? And that comes in now with Heard's revised statute that is referenced on the back of the 101 questionnaire that Moors, don't even deal with, because it's fine print at the bottom. Nobody really paying attention to that. But if they would pay attention to that, they would realize that Noble Juali in flesh was a who. After he passed form, Noble Juali became a what. And the what that Noble Juali is a juridic person. Juridic, juridic. You have that there?
No, I only get like juridical or juridicus.
What's juridical?
Juridical, relating to administration of justice or office of a judge. Regular, done in conformity to the laws of the country and the practice which is there observed.
So as we know that the position of a quote-unquote judge, that's a constitutional position, right? That's a civic position. That's not, an individual isn't a judge. That a judge is an office, right? So put your stuff in my name. Noble Juali is saying, put your things in the office of Noble Juali. But again, in order for there to have been that office called Noble Juali, there would have had to have been adepts who are teaching people that, which they weren't teaching people that. They were teaching Noble Juali from some, you know what I mean, came down on the clouds or whatever. Honor him. When there's many perspectives, because this is not just you know, a religious organization or a civic organization that adopted religious principles or whatever like that. This is broad. This is vast when we say Moorish movement. When we say Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Holy Temple of Science. We're not talking about some minuscule perspective.
I got a question. I don't know, it might be out of online. From my understanding, I know Noble Drew Ali went to Egypt and he studied, you know, science from there. I'm just curious to know why, when he passed, he didn't like do one like why wasn't his why was he buried instead of like, you know, mummified and then like the Egypt way, right? To preserve his body instead of being put in the ground. That's what I was.
Comes back to the individuals who were administering that. Because yeah, logically, if we're Moors, why are you putting people in the ground and stuff like that?
Yeah.
It's not our practice.
Yeah.
That's not what we do.
Yeah.
But you know, the concept of people who are undermining is to deal with things from a mundane, exoteric perspective, because the people that they're dealing with are in a mundane, exoteric mindset. So you have Noble Juali died, right? They bury him and they give him a little whatever in the ground, right? Reincarnated prophet died and he has mausoleum. Why you have a mausoleum? You're reincarnated. Shouldn't the foundation have the mausoleum and the guy who came later have the little stuff on the ground that you can't find? You know, you gotta be hunting all over the place. Are you hunting all over the place to find Noble Juali's stuff to go give him honors or whatever?
Yeah.
He should have the shit that you're seeing it from outside the cemetery. You're seeing in the cemetery the flags and all that stuff. Big edifice or whatever like that. That's where Noble Juali is buried. That's the prophet or whatever. You know what I mean? Go to India, Hindustan, where they buried Yahshua. See what they got for Yahshua in India, where they buried him. Where Muhammad's buried. Where they buried Muhammad at? What does he have as a you know what I mean, burial site? And then you look at, you know, Masons. What's Masons got? Where they get buried? But the Noble Juali's buried near this little thing in the ground or whatever like that.
Yeah, that's what I don't get.
Right? That's the whole sellout.
That's a sellout. Yeah.
Because those people were administering after prophet transition. People who lost faith in the prophet were administering for the prophet. All the people who have no faith in him, the ones who sign his death certificate, right? Which means that, you know, there's fiat involved, is a certificate, and then they're filing it or whatever somewhere. There's some kind of fiat going on. You got lawyers that were around the prophet. Lawyers, why are you having lawyers that are signing the stuff? But remember, those lawyers were in the temple. But death certificate, they never Payne and all those people. They never put their Free National name on no death certificate when they signed or whatever. How come they put their straw name as the lawyer for, you know what I mean? And then when you look at the 101 questionnaire in the back, it wasn't none of the quote-unquote Moorish lawyers that signed that. Some Swartzky or whatever like that signed that. So people been getting played, like people getting played with regard to Noble Drew Ali and what he's brought and presented. And again, you can go check Reincarnated Prophet, and you can go see the stuff that they built for them.
Which reincarnated prophet?
Oh, Noble Drew Ali.
Okay. So there was a reincarnated.
Yeah, there were many. There were many people that said that they're the reincarnation of Noble. We're the new Noble Drew Ali. Come again, follow us.
Okay, but the original.
But the original has a little stuff. And you know, we've been to Burr Oak Cemetery to know that when you go in there, if you don't know the lot number,
You won't find it.
you're not finding his stuff.
Just have 2 weeks.
Wow.
Like, you're not finding his stuff if you don't know the lot number. Right?
So I guess that's why.
Right? So and then now you have to ask your question now. Okay, so you have this mausoleum that got built by somebody who claimed to be reincarnated prophet, right? After Noble Drew Ali passed, right? And then, you know, if you check out just basic funeral, you're looking at about 20 G's.
Right.
Like 20,000 for basic. You know, you're talking about, you know, putting the ground, the freaking funeral home, them do the little, you know, don't forget they had the elaborate procession and stuff like that when Noble Drew Ali passed. They shut down Chicago when he passed for him. They gave him the stuff going down the street or whatever, like that. The Moors everywhere. It's like Noble Drew Ali said, turbans and fezzes in the streets and whatever, you know that the Moors' time is then and whatever like that. Right? Just go check the records. Documented. It's in the newspaper and stuff like that. That they knew when Noble Drew Ali died, they shut down Chicago for him. Right? So now you look at the cost of all this stuff. Now, you know, is there really cost involved? I know if it's the prophet, and then everybody knew who he was, you know, that'll be some stuff that, you know, city has their little pot when prominent people die or whatever like that, you know, they go in the pot to make sure that they get taken care of. That's not some stuff you gotta go apply for some grant or whatever like that to bury somebody or whatever. City's gonna back that. So that means nothing was spent then. If the city said, hey, Noble Drew Ali died, okay, you know what we're gonna do for the Moors? We're gonna ABCD, here you go Moors. Right? And then the Moors had their funeral, the Moors had their whatever that they did, right? And then this guy has a mausoleum. And then remember, 20,000 for basic burial, but this guy's mausoleum. Stone on top of that. Right? With the gate on it and all that stuff. Not just mausoleum where you just walk in, mausoleum with the gate on it. And then you ask them, where's the treasury money? Because we had the treasury in Noble Drew Ali's time or whatever. Where'd all that fiat go after Noble Drew Ali passed for him? And remember, 33 was silver and gold being taken out of circulation.
Right at that time.
At that time.
Right at that time.
So before that time, it was only gold and silver that. So when they Noble Drew Ali said 25 cent dues, 50 cent dues, you know, put money into whatever like that, he's talking gold and silver at that time.
Yeah.
So that means there was finance in the Moorish movement before Noble Drew Ali passed for him. Oh yeah, not only that, remember that they had manufacturing companies and all that stuff bringing in fiat as well to the movement. Get the move. You want to tell the Moors Islam before you surprise everybody?
Islam, Canaanland, Moor, 7 Rock Bay, stop in and say what's up. See y'all in about a month. Peace and love.
What's up, man? Yeah. I thought he traveled back. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to get
All right.
Always good to see you.
Right? So we know that there was a sellout. Right? We know that there was a sellout. We know that people took the position of, you know, taking over Noble Drew Ali stuff. Right? But they didn't have to do that. They did that specifically to undermine him. You know what I mean? They did that specifically so that the people would be right where they're at today. You know, including yourself. Because Noble Drew Ali came for the nations of people. Everybody was exercising in sinful activity before Noble Drew Ali passed for him. And he came to redeem everybody. Right? So even from your perspective, you know, they messed up your stuff. That's why you're struggling right now, dealing with these people on these levels. You know, it always seems like a battle because people set this up.
My uncle passed away last 2 months ago, and his favorite car before he passed away is called the Grand National.
Yeah. Right?
I have some sort of feeling like it's all connected, right?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, why would his favorite car be Grand National? Like, could be anything. But for you to pick that out is something for your raising yourself. Was he involved in any of the lodges or anything like that?
Not that I know of, no.
Right?
He was very book smart.
Yeah.
He would read encyclopedias. He had a book room. Very intelligent man.
So you know, and you know that when people have home libraries, when people's libraries in their house, so they don't have to go to the library. You know that they're on a certain level with this info. You know what I mean? Right? So today is we're gonna do another you know, kind of a book review. There's a magnificent author by the name of Amos Wilsons. He has some lectures out there. If you never saw anything by him, you probably check out what he's presenting. Brother Amos Wilsons was a example of the perspective that our people need to have in order for them to get some type of salvation in this system that they say is, you know, beast system, the European system, whatever they call it. Marley. Go on, Marley. Right? So today we're going through this book. Blueprint for Black Power. A moral, political, and economic imperative for the 21st century. Peace, man. Right? Blueprint for Black Power. Written by Amos and Wilson. Some of the chapters we're going to go through today. Chapter 2, Basis of Power, Organization and Ethnic Resources. Chapter 4, Consciousness and Power. Chapter 6, Power and Personality. Chapter 11, Ideology and the legitimization of dominance. Chapter 19, the paucity, P-A-U-C-I-T-Y, of black wealth. And chapter 21, Nation Within a Nation. Now some quotes from Brother Amos Wilsons. The wealth of a man is in his mind. The wealth of a man is in his mind. We, meaning, black people, are suffering impoverishment of the mind. We are not Africans. We are possessed by spirits and demons. We speak with the voice of a demonic presence. We are possessed. If we are to transform ourselves and the nature of our relationship with those who are our master, we must engage in an exorcism to clean the devils out. If we speak of self-destructive behavior, if we speak from a self-defeating behavior, or exercise black on black violence, we must be possessed by demons. We have one body, but if multiple personalities or consciousnesses possess the one body, each personality is vulnerable in its own way, and each consciousness creates its own body, because all diseases are mental. Right? So when we look at the position of Noble Drew Ali, he came for us to start that exorcism process, right? Because we already know that if somebody's gonna say that they're black, they're possessed by a demon. If somebody's gonna say they're African, they're possessed by a demon. That's demonic talk. If you're saying that you're black, say it again, put it on the record. You are possessed by a demon. Because, you already know, black means pale. If you're not pale and saying that you're black, then you have some consciousness in you that's talking for the body. If you say that we're African, and nobody from Africa calls themselves African, we have demons.
Except when they come here, this time.
Yeah, when they come over here, then they get bit. And they start saying that they're black. When they know that they're Congolese, they know that they're Eritrean, they know that they're, like a nation from over there. Only when they come here do they start, to get down with over here, start saying that they're black and all that. So these are code words, so you can know who the zombies are, especially if they call themselves leader, because they honor Amos Wilson. They hold him in high regard. One of the best scholars they ever had and all that stuff. But then they're not going to recognize, right, that these are frauds. Right? Again, they honor Dr. Ben. All Dr. Ben's books, he said African. He said African and Arab Moors. Anytime he referred to Africans and Arabs in his books. Every time he referred to an Arab, hyphen more on it. Now, if you let the sellouts get a hold of the stuff before you get to digest the original, then you're gonna have changes. You're gonna have literature changing, right? You're gonna have literature changing, right? So when you go get the revised versions of Dr. Ben's book, they don't say Arab Moor and African Moor in them. Just like this book, once again, you know, Library of Congress, right? Talking about copyright in 1998. Right, copyright 1998. But this is essential reading in the age of Obama. How is this copyrighted in 1998, but it's essential reading in the age of Obama? Doesn't that mean that this is edited text? Doesn't that mean somebody else got hold of this? Right?
What's the book again?
Blueprint for Black Power. And then keep in mind, right? You know, they got a RBG and a red, black, green and all that stuff, you know what I mean? Nationalism, Garveyite or whatever, but they're not going to recognize Nolan Ali. But Garvey is a forerunner of the Moorish movement who repped our RBG, right? Red flag, green star, black outline, that's red, black, green. But they're not going to recognize this as their flag. They're going to make a fake flag and say that's their flag. When red, black, green is right here. But they're not going to accept this as red, black, green. This is the Moroccan stuff from continent or okay, well, this is African. So if these people are African, why don't they claim Morocco as their home or whatever? And then you start getting into these, you know, contradictions, and you don't do anything about it. So the demons take you over.
Blueprint for
Black power.
But if they say black or more, then that's okay.
Hey, that's why we call the class today. Blueprint for Black or more power.
Well, I didn't even know that.
Blueprint for Black Power.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right. Any questions, comments? That's good. So, America's long history of 100% racial quotas in favor of whites. For 300 years, the American colonies, right, which aren't American colonies, the European colonies, the states and the federal government, corporation, allotted untold billions of dollars of public wealth exclusively to members of the white race. Then if you check, you know, free white person, Omar had the shirt on back there, right? Free white person, who's the Magyars and Laps and Finns and Moorish descendants and all that type of stuff. Right? So white race isn't some Europeans. Right? The brother from Egypt came over here, wanted to be black and all that stuff, and you know, sue the United States because he wants to be acknowledged as black. And then they threw his stuff out because, you know, you're stupid. If you're from Egypt, you're a white man. You don't come over here and get mad that people, that we're not accepting you as black when you're a white man. But you're from Egypt. And he looks like us or whatever. He's a white man, but, right? So when they start talking about, you know, whites got and blacks didn't get, right? Remember, this is zombie talk. Remember that this is possessed talk. Only possessed people say that they're black people. People who have clean spirits, people who are thinking, living, sentient beings do not identify themselves by things that you can look up in the dictionary and know that, oh, why am I calling myself that? You don't even question anything. You just go with it. And then you have the so-called leader people, right? Playing this game with them. That, oh yeah, they are that. You know, well, we're not gonna You know, we're from there, we're from here, we're from all over the place, you know, but we're black people. Well, you're from somewhere, why don't you just name yourself where you're from? Right? If you're gonna say white race, why don't you just say Europeans? Why don't you say European races? So people are clear what is meant. Right? So some of these, 1675, Massachusetts, right? So now we're looking at 1600s. Massachusetts colony. Massachusetts Bay Colony. Well, just in case people are sleeping. Massachusetts Bay Colony. Cedes plantation rights in 6 square mile tracts to worthy individuals. The population of the colony included black slaves as well as free blacks. So plantation rights in the Bay Colony, Massachusetts, ceded 6 square mile tracts to worthy individuals. And the worthy individuals were some black slaves as well as free blacks. Neither were treated as worthy individuals eligible for land grants. In 1683, Maryland and Virginia established 50-acre land grants to settlers who pay their own way across the Atlantic. Blacks were given a free ride in slave ships and thus were not eligible for grants. And again, remember, we're talking about once you classify yourself as black, then you're possessed. And then if you're possessed, why would anybody even consider giving you anything? If you're purposely identifying yourself as something that you're not, right? Adopting. The federal ordinance of 1785 authorized the sale of 640-acre tracts to settlers for $1 per acre. As slaves, blacks were legally prohibited from owning property. So what's he telling the people? That if you classify yourself as black, you can't own property. Because black is property. That's how Moors talk. This is Amos Wilson, black scholar guy that these guys like to uphold. Telling people that if you're black, you can't own property. And then these people still call themselves black today and talk about, yeah, we got a deed and we own the house and all that stuff. You can't, that's fraud. Because blacks can't own property. Right, and this is page 34. So this is not even far in the book. (1850), the beginning of massive federal land grant program for private railroad companies. Outright awards of 130 million acres frequently included property for 20 miles on either side of roadbeds. These lands later found to contain billions of dollars of petroleum and mineral reserves. Black businessmen never considered qualified to acquire, finance, or operate railroad franchises. But then, when you check the black records of inventions, Asiatics that made trains or whatever. So how does Asiatic make a train? Asiatic founded the lubrication whatever for the train to be able to choo-choo. And they're prohibited. They weren't even considered or qualified to acquire, finance, or operate railway franchises. But this guy built the train. But hey, you call yourself black, then you have nothing. Right? Which is why all these so-called leaders always spoke from a perspective of nationhood. Because they knew that they were black. They were saying black for the dumb people who were in the crowd clapping at everything and don't want to do anything but clap. And all they do is just clap. And things done, same thing they do today. They clap, stuff's done, and there's nothing going on out there but suffering, struggling. Everybody have problems. Everybody can't fix this, can't fix that. But you just went to the lecture. You just went to Layla Africa lecture last week. Layla Africa said, okay, you know, you take this stuff out of your diet, you'll take half the problems that you have in your body away just by eliminating these 5 things. The lecture's done, and then these guys going to go get white sugar, white flour, and whatever, all this stuff that the guy just said in the lecture. Get that out of your diet. And I'll complain, oh yeah, the white man's poisoning our communities and whatever like that. Well, maybe if you stop drinking the tap water that the guy told you, stop drinking the water, unless you boil it or whatever, maybe you wouldn't be getting growths on your neck and stuff like that. But they don't want to hear that. They want to keep playing this victimization, self-defeating mentality. Instead of, you know, pulling up their stuff, tighten your belt or whatever, and let's go do some stuff and get some stuff done, right? Page 51. The Black American Nation within a nation. Well-organized, socially coherent, and cohesive nation states provide the best means for the accumulation and exercise of collective power resources to the degree that a social group can approach nation-state status even on an informal, non-declared level. It can create, accumulate, and maximally utilize its collective resources as media of its social power and will. The failure of the African American community, once again, you know, fraud, and then now we spelling African with a K, right? So when they start playing those ones, A-F-R-I-K-A-N, you know, to take away from saying African, because, you know, that's a colonial term. They know that that's a colonial term, or they wouldn't change the spelling. So they know that this is a colonial term, so they change the spelling, you know, A-F-R-I-K-A, right? They know that their jurisdiction of America was taken over, right, by foreigners. So they say Ameri-KKKA and try to justify that as the continent instead of just saying Europeans. Pale European colonizers came here, stole the stuff. Just stick to what it is. But if they do that, then they realize that, you know, they're gonna have to go further. If you say America, you're gonna have to go further. You're gonna go out to Al-Marak. Then you're gonna have to go to Amexem. Then realize that Amexem's over here and Amexem's over there, and you're gonna have to change your mentality on how you look at this. But if you keep playing this game of, you know, well, we don't like America, so we're gonna put KKK in the name America, so then that's gonna make people realize that, oh yeah, we're dealing with, you're not dealing with, you know, America, you know, KKK, no continent have anything to do with those guys called KKK. Continent has nothing to do with them, right? The failure of the African American community to exercise considerable economic and political power, despite its large population and broad national expanse, as well as ample human and material resources, is directly linked to its failure to conceive of itself as a nation within a larger, quote-unquote, white-dominated nation, and to organize itself as such. This is the Black Power guys' blueprint for them to have power as blacks. For the black community to have power in a black status, their black scholar told them that the failure of these people is directly linked to not being able to conceive itself as a nation within a nation. So in order to conceive yourself or perceive yourself as a nation, you have to have a nationality. That's not something that has to be said. It's common sense. If you're talking nation, then you should have a nationality. Then the black guys, they don't want to talk about nationality. Even though the blueprint for black power, the blueprint for black people to have power says that they have to be recognized, they have to perceive themselves as a nation within a nation before they even think about resources and establishing this, establishing that. First thing you have to do is perceive yourself as a nation from their scholar.
But, okay, so let's say they do that, but they still have to have a national bona fide brand. It can't be a black nation.
Right.
So regardless of whether or not they start thinking of themselves as a nation, they're still at ground zero. They haven't, there's no progress.
Right, that's why they play these games. Right? So they can create a nation. But then Noble Dwali told them, isn't the land where you came from have a name? If you came from a land as a slave, that land where you came from has a history. So why are you tying yourself to that? Why are you making up stuff? If you say that you came from West Africa, and then on the map, you go on the map, you say, okay, east, west, north, south. You have west right here. So West Africa is Senegal, Sierra Leone, Gambia, Mauritania, Morocco, Liberia. Where you have all these nations around here on the west. Why you claim one of them? Why you make up something and say that that's where you come from when that's not a reality? That's a fiction.
Even to add on to what you're saying, one of the things that I heard you mention a while back was if they claim to be from those nations, how come those nations haven't claimed them? If you're from wherever in West Africa, how come those nations? How come these nations haven't claimed you? How come you haven't heard any of the embassies claiming you, or like from Nigeria, from Ghana, they haven't acknowledged them. So really and truly, if where you claim you're from and you're not being acknowledged, obviously those people don't really see you as
from there.
Right.
Logic.
Right.
And right there you have to stop now and say, damn, these guys never claimed us.
Right.
I tell you to come
When we
home.
came from there, they were told us come back home or nothing like that. And if they do tell us come back home, it's on some, half-ass.
Right.
When you come to here on a trip to Africa or whatever,
Right.
make sure you come by and see the chief
Right.
of the
Right.
Igbo people.
Right.
Well, so what if I wasn't coming there? You guys wouldn't invite me to come back or whatever?
Because they already know where you are.
Because they already know.
No one's sending the Navy SEAls or the Nigerian SEAls or anyone
Right?
to come.
Yeah, to come do it. Nothing? Nobody's sending anybody?
Right.
They know. And remember too, we got the Berlin Conference. So that the people on the continent of Africa, they know what we're going through over here with regard to colonizing. Because over there was colonized. So it's not like they don't know. It's not like if they've been colonized, then why would we want to go back there? Which is why, all of them are coming over here. So why all of them coming over here? But they're not relinquishing where they come from. When they come over here, they're still Ghanaian, Mauritanian, whatever like that. They're not saying that they're, black people over here now because they came to America. They're not giving up their nationality. They're not stupid like that. They're not our people. Our people give up their nationality in a heartbeat under the guise that they're getting something. Right? So the black nation within a nation. Right? Page 52. Chancellor Williams in chapter 25. Right? Interesting. Chancellor Williams in chapter 25 of his classic book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, lays out a detailed race-based plan for the organization of the African American community and the benefits such organization can bestow on it. As a sort of preamble to this plan, he discusses some things a massive consolidation of unused black power can do.
That's good.
1. It can influence American foreign policy and actions in regard to crucial matters affecting African nations just as effectively as American Jews can influence this country's relations with Israel. This would be real Pan-Africanism. Right? So having the power to influence American foreign policy, right? So they're trying to influence American foreign policy when really it's colonial foreign policy that they're trying to influence. Because America, the continent, has no foreign policy. Foreign policy is not something that's bestowed on a continent. Governments deal with foreign policy or policies. And America is not a government. So for these individuals to influence foreign policy, they're going to have to become the government, because America has nothing to do with government.
So it should really be U.S. foreign policy.
U.S. foreign policy. And then if they were to address the right people, now you can have some influence because you're addressing who you're dealing with. If you say the Dutch slave masters, now you're identifying who the slave master is. You say the white man, continue to be enslaved. Because law, if you're talking government, American foreign policy, whatever, that's law. Well, law is something specific, not vague.
Because in the U.S., even that is sort of a misnomer, because U.S. is a corporation. So
right.
they can have a foreign policy in regards to being a corporation.
That level too. being that they're a corporation, how do they have a foreign policy? But again, if you have a publishing company that works with the establishment of slavery, then you're gonna have these misconcepts in the literature that's gonna cause confusion, because now the people are gonna be, marching, picketing, whatever for all these years, and they're not having any influence on this foreign policy. That the leader said, hey, if you guys do whatever, you got so much black power, we could cause influence here. Okay, well, let's get the black power together, call it Million Man March, and then we're gonna make some progress. Okay, so then they bring all the black together, right? They bring all the energy together, and then nothing happens after. No different than, let's go to the lecture. Everybody goes to the lecture. Lecture's done, everybody stands up, rounding applause, go buy all the stuff that lecture has, and then tomorrow, no change, stuff still going on that you guys complaining about? When the lecture's purpose was to stop the suffering of whatever you guys complaining about? Right? And again, these leaders, we're not saying accept their compromised position. We're saying that they're giving keys for us to free ourselves. And we're not picking up on what's being said. Because majority of the people who claim that they want freedom or whatever like that, they're not willing to die for it. So you're not getting it. They're not willing to look death in the face for freedom. So, freedom's not even nothing to consider. That's like you have children, you won't die for them. So why have them? What's the sense of what you have them for? If you're not gonna so you're gonna let your children get X'd out, and then you stay here for 20 years or whatever. You know what I mean? Right? And overall, you got a comment over? Or is it gone already?
Hold on, the comment was that the stuff that you're saying ends up being sort of misconcepts, to me, is really indoctrination process.
Yeah.
Because really, if you take that as true, then you've all of a sudden fallen into sort of propagating
The jurisdiction.
into that, but also sort of giving energy
Yeah.
to the fraud.
Right.
So it's not even sort of misconcepts.
Yeah.
There's an intent behind that.
There's intent.
A misconcept seems to give you the idea that it's accidental almost.
Right. Right.
A miss.
Yeah. So it's more purposeful.
Yeah.
It's more
there's an intent
purposeful.
to it, right?
Right.
So it's propaganda or yes.
Right. An overall race organization can deal with some important problems at home than any smaller independent group can do nationwide. What the people need is a national defender to further expose and victoriously end the silent war that is quietly being carried on each day against a now helpless people, many of whom are not really aware of its extent. What the people need is a national defender to further expose the silent war that is quietly being carried on each day against a now helpless people, many of whom are not really aware of its extent.
No. Yeah. It just... Okay, just by the fact that you're saying that, isn't Noble Drew Ali supposed to be, is the national defender?
Right.
It's not what the people need. Like, we already have a national defender.
Exactly.
So it's just, I don't know, man. I'm really confused.
So when you have,
because we already have a solution.
the solution's been there.
And again,
Before Noble Drew Ali, the solution's been there.
So these people are just being redirected back to the same lost path that they were on. Not even getting off.
And he admits that they're now helpless. He's saying that you guys don't have any options right now. Time's over. This is 98. If that's when this was published.
Right.
It could be before 98.
Right.
That they knew that they were already helpless. And that they need a national defender. Which they already have. That they weren't told about by all these sellout leaders who are going to talk about everybody else. They'll talk about Sheikh Anta Diop, and they talk about, Chancellor Williams, and they talk about all these people. They're pushing this black zombie mindset, but not talk about really what the issue is. That you can't keep making references to national stuff without having a nationality. You can't keep making reference to national this, nationhood that, national whatever, and you don't have a nationality?
So again, you can't say I have rights and you're still property.
You're property.
As opposed to being property of the son.
Right? I remember that these things that we're reading are a preamble to a plan that he discussed, Chancellor Williams, of things a massive consolidation of unused black power can do. So we're not talking about the power that they're using right now to go march picket order. We're talking about the stuff that's in reserve.
Right.
That they're supposed to go access the stuff in reserve to make these national things happen. But how could they be exercising and using energy and also having a reserve of energy that they can go to use? Because the energy that they're using isn't really, they're not using nothing. They're just wearing out shoes, wearing out joints. Because the real energy is behind your nation. That's sitting there, that nobody wants to pay attention to, nobody wants to deal with, even though it's clear that this is what it is. It's not a hard find. Just look up Morocco. They'll tell you Maghreb al-Aqsa. In Morocco, the farthest west. Okay, well, Morocco that we always been told about is the east. So you can't tell me that okay, well, Morocco in Africa is Morocco the farthest west, when that's not the farthest west. That's not the farthest west that you could go. There's west past Morocco in Africa, right? Just like there's a wilderness of North America. There's wilderness in Africa, wilderness in Asia. Like, what are you trying to get at? Or are you trying to demoralize over here so you could pump up, the direction you're trying to put the people's mind in, right? So there's maybe about 8 of those things. So just get the book and just go check what the massive consolidation of unused black power can do.
The only way it seems like this book could be relevant to us if we take out the words black and just put more.
Yep.
More in there. That's the only way.
Only way.
Other than that, it's just dead power, walking dead, walking dead.
Pale power, dead power, and everything else. And then when the people who they give this power to exercise their right based on the power they were just given, then people talk about racism and prejudice and whatever. You just gave them the power that you're the one to call him officer. Give him the right to shoot you in the street. At least call him officer. How about stop calling him officer? How about calling him highwayman? Call him mercenary. Call him what he is, so that when he does do something against you, you can now say, see, we told you guys that you guys are mercenaries and highwaymen and killers and whatever else. But you say officer, then hey, they have the authority to shoot on sight.
Yep.
especially somebody who's saying that they're property. They have the right to all of a sudden, you know, garbage bags are allowed in the cell. Right?
Interesting when you're holding the book up. If you take the B off black, it just says lack power.
Lack power.
Lack of power.
Yeah, lack of power. Yeah.
Lack of power.
It's right there in your face. Telling you that black lacks power.
And black means pale.
Right.
Pale. So if somebody's like, oh, if a police or a highwayman says, hey, aren't you a black man? You can say, no, you're the black man. You're pale.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest doing that all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Where we're coming from. You find yourself visiting one of the detention centers.
Under something, yeah. The functional elements of consciousness. How African consciousness is disempowered and empowered. The functional elements of consciousness. How African consciousness is disempowered and empowered. Consciousness is characterized and determined by its contents, instrumentalities, and directional organizational factors. Factual, experimental contents. Perceived and factual knowledge, beliefs, attitudes, opinions, temperament, conditioned behavioral and emotional tendencies, unconscious motives and drives, self-perception, worldview, current perception of internal and external environments. These broad classes or types of contents, stable personality traits, and tendencies are the basis or determining the general character orientation of human behavior. Mental behavioral instrumentalities, physical skills, personal social skills, intellectual, cognitive, reasoning, intuitive, critical, analytical, problem-solving skills, abilities, academic skills, occupational skills, learning skills. Major kinds of intellectual and behavioral skills are utilized to process or operate on the factual, experimental contents of consciousness and to behaviorally express the outcome of the process or operation. Directional, organizational, orientations, needs, desires, values, interests, aspirations, ideals, sense of purpose, culture. These factors are used to decide what problems need to be solved and what goals are to be pursued. They heavily influence which contents and which instrumental methods of processing these contents and modes of expression will be used by the individual to achieve particular ends or to solve the particular problems. The disempowerment and empowerment of African consciousness. In resolving problems, creating new or innovative possibilities, and adapting to environmental demands, the conscious individual, 1, applies one or more of the instrumentalities of his consciousness to process its contents under the guiding influence of one or more of his directional, organizational, orientations or values, and 2, uses the outcome of his mental behavioral processes to direct and regulate his mental and physical behavior in order to achieve some intended result. How is African consciousness disempowered by white power? White power seeks to disempower African consciousness by adversely falsifying, limiting, or manipulating its contents and or impairing or constructing its instrumentalities and or misdirecting its directional, organizational orientations under the guiding influence of self-serving, European-centered values. So the so-called African consciousness, in short, the so-called African consciousness must be driven by African-centered knowledge. You cannot have African-centered focus with European information. Now, from a black perspective, from a zombie mindset, from a Moorish mindset, you know that the Europeans were taught by the Moors. So when they say Eurocentric mindset, what they really mean is colonial mindset, Inquisitionist mindset. They don't mean European. Because, you know, all of us know a European that is a brother or sister or whatever. They can come chill at the house and chill like anybody else that comes, you know what I mean? Because it really doesn't go down like that. They're not all the Europeans in the world are the devil or whatever like that. It doesn't go down like that. So we could get stuff. And then it goes back to Noble Juali again. Get a good European education and I could use you. Why? Because he's not siding with the European. He knows Moors taught them. So if you get a good European education, it's more than likely Moorish. Especially if they give you some degree at the end and then you get the little square, you know, with the tassel on it.
Yeah.
Letting people know that really and truly we have to really start centralizing our attack and not have this vague, everybody's the devil. The colonial powers are the ones, the Inquisitionists, the Roman Catholics, right? The ones who have falsified history are not European. To say that is like saying African. Anybody African. Anybody that's European. Either they're Dutch, French, Scottish, English, British, whatever. Either they're Congolese, Eritrean, you know, Senegalese, Malian, there ain't no African people or European people. So to generalize is to allow colonialism to continue. Because the colonials generalize. The colonials say, well, all black people look alike, so, you know, kill niggers. Well, no, not really, because we got feathers on, we have nationality card. Don't try to classify us as Negroes, right? Sundry free Moors. Don't try to classify us as Negroes, put us on the Negro Act. But we're not Negroes. This is before Noble Juali. We're not Negroes. We're drawing a line that we're not Negroes. And what they do, we were able to pay for their wives' freedom and all that type of stuff and then get out of slavery based on their status. Because they were in allegiance with the emperor. They were in allegiance with a nation, not corporate or plantation jurisdictions. Right? How is African consciousness empowered by Black Power? Black Power seeks to empower African consciousness by expanding the factual knowledge base of its contents and making its factual and other contents functionally relevant to resolving the problems of African peoples. Find me a black guy that beat a ticket that said that he's conscious. Find me a black guy that is not paying child support. We say he's conscious or whatever. Find me a black guy that's not paying taxes. It's not going to be found. Because once you start using those slave tags, you classify yourself as under the jurisdiction of the slave master, which is Dutch, French, whatever, not Europeans, not white men and all that, right? Group consciousness. If the sets of values, modes of thinking, beliefs, and much more which define and direct an individual's consciousness are shared by or are compatible with other individuals who mutually consider themselves to be members of a distinctive group who socially and behaviorally interact in order to achieve mutual desired ends, who initiate and regulate their individual behavioral interests in accordance with the interests of the group of which they are members, who identify many of the personal interests with interests of the group of which they are members, and who see membership in their group as vitally important to achieving both personal and group aims, then it may be inferred that they have generated and share in group consciousness. Yeah and no. Because if you're talking nationhood but talking about groups, then you just disqualified yourself as being conscious or having consciousness. Because you can't be on page 30 talking about nations or whatever, but then you're going to talk about group consciousness, not national consciousness. And what our people have to do is start adopting national consciousness. Once again, which is why Noble Drew Ali came. to let the people know that when we say 101 questionnaire, when we say Moroccan flag, fezzes, turban, circle 7, Holy Quran of Moor Science Temple, nationality card, handshake on the card, flag on the card, all-seeing eye of Allah, and all these standards, that's group consciousness. We could say group consciousness because we're nationals. Chinese have group consciousness, where if they go rally, there's one flag. That's group consciousness. But they can say that because they're national. Stateless people can't talk about group consciousness. Because as soon as you classify yourself as a group and you're stateless, you don't have any power. The black power becomes dead power. Because the power resides in the individuals who are claiming it. And if they're claiming it under a name that's not really their name, they're setting themselves up to be victim. Which is where we've been. Just like brother said in the beginning of the book, people are helpless. And they honor him. And then when you check the records, they're gonna say, yeah, black spending power, $85 kajillion because they gave $50 billion to the church and $250 million to hair, and then $800 million to nails, and then schools, zero. Spiritual institutions, zero. Health, diet, whatever, zero. Oh yeah, fast food, $850 million. And then, how come we don't have anything? Europeans stealing, Europeans not stealing anything. We're putting our stuff where it's not supposed to be. Which again, eliminates group consciousness. Because if we're saying that, colonizer is the whatever, as far as black guys, because, we don't have any issue with Europeans. There's a Portuguese store right down there that we go buy stuff at. They got no issue with us treating us like, nigger when we go in there or nothing like that. Right? They got other different nations that we go to or whatever like that we deal with, that they don't deal with us like nigger when we go in there. So we're not gonna play the game that this is across the board. We can't no supporting Europeans and no supporting Indians, only support black businesses. Well, not really. Because why do you support them? They're not going to do nothing with it. As soon as you give it to a black business, they're going to give it to the colonizer. So why not give it to somebody who's going to keep it in the circle, the Asiatic circle? And then that comes into recognizing that, we're Asiatics? I thought we're Africans. No, we're Asiatics. You look at ourselves from that perspective. Now you realize that we got more family out here than we even imagined. that are willing to support us, that are willing to join the group consciousness, because they realize that we're nationals too, just like them. So yeah, we'll support them. Yeah, we'll see them and say, oh, you know about the Moors? All right, now I could have a conversation with you, and I could let you know that, you know, as Chinese, when you come over here, we get a certain tax break and whatever like that, because, you know, as nationals, when we come here, you know, we have to denationalize ourselves. You know, I can tell that to you because you're a Moor and you understand. You know what I mean? Even if my English is broken and you know what I'm talking about, you still know what I'm talking about because national principles. But they're told. Somebody was telling me that they had, I think it was Brother Tallahassee. Brother Tallahassee's girlfriend. She came from Philippines. And when she came here, they told her, don't talk to black people. All right. So, okay, I guess, you know what I mean? Then she got into more science, then she realized why they told her that. Huh?
No, I was just thinking, where did they even fool you to tell you, like, don't talk to black people?
Because they know that so-called black people are the sleeping giant. And the only way that the sleeping giant is going to wake up is if somebody from somewhere else that looks like them, that they think they have no connection to them because, you know, they're from over there, so they have no connection to them. But if those people come here and tell them, you know, you guys are really the government here. Because in our country, in our language, we have people over there called Moros. And we don't call them black people in our country. We call them Moros over in our country. They start telling people stuff like that. You know, just like the brother who came over here and said that he wanted to be black. I mean, they embraced him. Like, oh yeah, you're the best. Come on in our community or whatever. We'll put you on all these forums so you can talk because, you know what I mean, you're from Egypt. So if anybody knows about black history, you know about it when he's a white man. And he probably got told, don't talk to black people or whatever. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, they were telling them. Europeans were telling them, why you want to be black or whatever? You're from Egypt, you have a culture and all this type of stuff. And he's like, nah, you know, black, the first people in Egypt were black people and I want to be down with black people. Right? Sell himself out. Sell himself out. Right? It's real. Sociogenic maladaptiveness. Big quotes. We emphasize the reclamation of the African identity by African people and their construction of an African-centered consciousness because we recognize that it was and is the repression of these two factors that made the mental conquest and continuing domination of African peoples possible. We emphasize the reclamation of African identity. Dr. Ben told us the African identity is that we're Moors. But they don't want to claim that because, you know, if they claim that, then they have to be Muslim and that was Islam, and we don't want that. We want to be, you know, Wolof. We want to be Igbo, and we want to go back to the stuff that they stole from slavery and all that stuff. You know, all those people got nationalities. That's why they're not accepting black people back into whatever and coming and helping them or whatever like that. But once you classify as black, once you classify as African, you oust yourself from being accepted. Especially if you're spelling African wrong. So on top of that, on top of you not knowing what the hell's going on, you're also incompetent, you can't spell. You claim that you come from this place and you can't spell it? You know, the K and stuff like that? They're gonna change the C to a K. So you know, they sound alike or whatever.
I think that's cool.
Right? That's the cool thing to do. Make up something and then say that that's what it is. When all these so-called people know that that's Alkebulan, if you're gonna use a K. It's not Africa with a K, it's Alkebulan. But to start talking about that, you know, you gotta talk about Moors because Al is a Moorish title. This repression out of consciousness of their original identity and consciousness is essentially what is referred to as alienation or self-alienation. So alienation isn't European foreigners and all that stuff. Alienation is the repression out of your own consciousness of your original identity. That's why they'll say Mexicans are alien. And all these so-called foreigners are alien. Not because of the geographical landmass, but because in their consciousness is absent of their true identity. So they'll say, we're Mexican, but they won't say we're Olmecs. Won't identify with their true identity. And as soon as you don't identify with your true identity, that's alienation. Or self-alienation. Which means you can't blame the white man, because you did it to yourself by not knowing your identity. And remember, these are the scholars of the conscious community people who are out there right now debating about all this stuff. When there's no debate. They're going to honor Dr. Ben, but not call themselves Moors. When he said in his book that Africans are Moors and Arabs are Moors. They're going to honor Dr. Ben, but then say that Moors stole stuff from Arabs. But Dr. Ben said Arabs are Moors. So like what do you mean? What do you mean? They're gonna honor Khalid and say, you know, he was a good black man or whatever, but Khalid said that he's a Moor. And people continue to listen to these people. Lying on the master teachers. They're not just, you know, whatever, they're lying on the master teachers. How does Dr. Ben say that Africans and Arabs are Moors? And then you have people debating Moors about, are we Moors? We're not Moors. Obviously, somebody took checks. And they don't want to recognize that their leaders who got lied to, they came to their senses and started dealing with things according to how things are supposed to go. Why is all of a sudden, you know, all this black stuff, and then, you know, El Hajj goes to Mecca and then comes back and now he's talking about human rights and wants to go to the UN and sue the European and all that type of stuff. You know, the white man, black man and all that. And nobody picked up anything. Nobody saw the smile before he got shot. He knew those guys that came running up to the podium. That he seen their face. Hey, you guys are NOI. Oh shit, that's what's going down. Okay. Right? What do? Recognize his identity. So that's why Janet turned Muslim. And then now, in order for her to perform, she has to create an alter ego because her performance persona does not line up with Islam. So now she's going to have her show and she's going to be rioting people and stuff like that and half dressed. That's not Islam or whatever. They put you on a wall in Mecca. You go in up in some mosque talking about, you know, stuff cut down to here and all that. Then his skirt cut up to here. You go in the mosque. You think they're gonna let that stuff fly? But if she creates an alter ego, you know, everything's cool. Because that's not really the individual that's not the one who has their senses or whatever. That's why they have the whole thing of, you know, Sean Carter, you create a personage. And then you use the personage, and then people get attached to the personage and forget about the guy who, you know, who's really signing the checks. There's nothing to do with that thing that was created.
So we create a golem.
Right?
Create an entity.
Create a golem.
Interesting.
For them to do their golemness.
Yes. Do their dirt.
But then remember, the people, they're not creating a golem. And if they do, it's based on some, you know, childhood nickname or whatever, you know.
Imaginary friend.
Imaginary whatever. You know. End up doing more damage to themselves than good. When the repression of African identity and consciousness, the refusal to learn of African history and culture are motivated by shame, guilt, anxiety, fear, embarrassment of being identified as an African, Moor, right? Because remember, African synonymous with Moor. So, when the repression, right? So, let's look at this from that perspective. When the repression of Moorish identity and consciousness, the refusal to learn of Moorish history and culture are motivated by shame, guilt, anxiety, fear, embarrassment of being identified as a Moor, most often induced by the political and economic machinations of the dominant whites. When the Moorish person uses these attitudes and feelings to reject his Moorish identity and heritage, then we refer to that person as self-hating or self-alienated. The general attitude is one of self-hatred. So all these individuals that we see debating and trying to justify their uncivilized position to civilized people, and they'll call themselves everything that they heard about in history, but not Moors, they're exercising self-hatred. And remember, they're the conscious people. We're not talking about the dead people. This book right here does not apply to dead people who don't know themselves. This is the next level up for people. These are the people who know themselves. The people who go to his lectures aren't dumb niggers out here selling drugs or whatever. The people who follow these teachings of Amos Wilson are the conscious people. The people who've been to school, have education, have libraries in their home. So once they start rejecting their Moorish nationality, which is theirs. So we tell people that this is birthrights. This is not some group thing of selling this to people. This is birthright. This is who we are. This is our identity. This is our culture. As soon as we start playing the game that, you know, well, I'll be whatever, Malian. Because I heard about the Malians, and then they had ships and they had a culture, and so we're going to be Malian. Okay, well, Malians or Moors. Well, you know, they never studied Islam or whatever. Yeah, well, not all Moors study Islam. Okay, well, you can't be them. You know, you find something else to be. Oh yeah, we'll make up something. We'll be the Nuwapians. Okay, well, Nuwapians are indigenous people, and you know, founder of that said that you're Moors. Oh well, you know, they can't be that. Then, you know, they'll be that and not put more on it. Try to make it, you know, like, oh, yeah, we can do that. We can say that we're Nuwapians but not say that we're Moors. You know what? Like, how much more of how much more shooting up and stuff like that people gonna just take?
Here we go again.
Right? How much abuse? How much blaming fictitious entities, blaming corporations, make up stuff. America did it to us. America with the triple K, not the C or whatever. America with the triple K did it to us. Why you just say the Klan did it to you? Why you just... Oh, because you know the Klan will come back and put people on trees and stuff like that. Burn crosses on people's lawn. And they're defenders of the Christian creed, but they're burning their own. They're burning their own stuff. Like, why are they burning their own stuff if they're the Christian whatever? And you don't get it that no, they're not Christian. They're not defenders of no Christian or whatever. They're defenders of the Constitution. Negro, black, colored people are unconstitutional, so they must be eliminated. That's dressed up like Moors. Dress up like Moors, scare Moors. In being ignorant of or in rejecting his objective, historical, cultural identity, the person is compelled to assume a new identity, albeit a false one, or suffer identity confusion, ambivalence, or a lack of self-definition, usually characterized by a chronic search for purpose and meaning. Only when people get into more science and they do their birth chart, they realize, oh, that's what I'm on earth for. Before that, you just run around, chicken with your head cut off, don't know where you're going. Well, should I go, should I be a carpenter? Well, I did the aptitude test and they said that I'm going to be, a cement mixer. All right, but you're pretty good with that ball or whatever. No, that's not what I'm supposed to do or whatever like that. The aptitude test said that I'm going to be a fireman or whatever. No idea of who they are. No idea of where they're going. And then when they get told, when they're put onto what it is, right? Just like we've been saying, you have somebody, you look at somebody like C. Freeman L., for example, right? Elder, right? Master teacher. You have people like Bobby Hemmett who open up for C. Freeman L. lectures. Oh, well, they're going to chase Bobby Emmett down, but you're not going to consider Bobby Emmett opened for C. Freeman L. numerous times. Bobby Emmett go on the record saying that C. Freeman L. is one of his master teachers. But they want all the metaphysics and they want all the whatever like that and all the stuff that goes with Bobby Emmett, but they're not going to consider C. Freeman L. at all because, he's a Moor, so we can, Moors are Muslims and we don't want nothing to do with Islam. Yeah, but Bobby Emmett dealt with him. He opened for him. Like, what? You guys love Bobby Emmett, right? Yeah, Bobby Emmett, all his DVDs and all that stuff. But you guys not gonna honor C. Freeman L. That's not hypocrisy. That's not sellout antics. That the guy who you follow, his master teacher is a Moor, nationalized. Put Hemmett on to info, not just he just open for it because I'm Bobby Hemmett and I'm gonna make myself known, so I'm open for this guy here who's known. He's a student of C. Freeman L. But
it likens to I remember there was a lecture we went to a couple of years ago where the brother's name is Phil Valentine.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Bring that up too.
He was
because people think that because he was in Hidden Colors, you know what I mean, and he didn't have fez on, and he's that he's just some
like it was as I said, he was talking on a trust, and this trust was for all so-called black people to proclaim their nationality. He didn't say become a Moor, nothing. He didn't say that. He just says you need to get yourself right, be part of this trust, and you can get your stuff back. You know? So he's like, he's putting it out there. It's okay, this is what a trust is and what you should do with a trust. And everybody's like, yeah, I want my stuff back from these people, bruh. Yeah. He says, but before you do all that, make sure you go see the Moors and speak to them about it.
What Moors was he talking about?
We were there. I know. So I was standing back there. It's like, all right, good. Our table's gonna be flocked with people. Let's get ready. Now, one individual came up to the table.
One.
Not one. Not one. When we were leaving, said, "Oh, could y'all give us some information on what?"
Hey, what's up?
He came over to us and handed us the paper, that trust.
Yeah.
Not one individual in the whole place came over to us. Please, man. Right? So it's a consciousness that has been, it's just been buried. Go ahead.
I can say not only the fact that it's been buried, it's just I feel that also people don't want to take responsibility and have their world change. You know what I'm saying? I find a lot of people, you try to even open them up to something as simple as chi or energy, like your own vital energy, and they find that like off-putting, and it's like, how the fuck do you think you move?
Yeah, how do you live?
How do you move? And you don't want to think about that. So to think about things that are so deep as into how your daily life is being operated, they don't want to change the whole spectrum of life like that. They don't want to take that kind of responsibility for themselves. A lot of them are fine with being babied and pacified.
Yes.
You know, because although they're shown and told about what's able to be achieved, they haven't experienced it, and that's what they've been taught to be tethered to what you experience rather than
experience.
Like, what you're supposed to be learning and things like that.
Exactly. So as I said, it was very interesting to see, because that was
That's astonishing.
that was my first going to a lecture, being like having books or whatever, right? Like for donations, whatever. And it was just, as I said, very interesting, because he, for a good 30 minutes, he spoke on this trust, and everybody was happy. Yes, we could get it. He says, but you need to learn some law. I say, yeah, we'll go, yeah. You know, you need to learn some good history. Yeah, we'll learn history. But make sure you go see the Moors when you all are done. Quiet, silence, like nothing. You know, it was like,
Big bang back.
yeah, it was, we have to go through the Moors to do this?
Yeah, like we have to go through the Moors?
It's like,
You know? Why them?
why, you know, it's like, you know what, I'll be a slave another day. You know what I'm saying?
It's also subservience, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to be subservient to something else. They want to be able to do what they want to do,
Yeah.
but then keep what they feel and have grown up to be proud
Right,
of.
to be what it is,
It
right?
doesn't work that way, man.
It's a matter of perspective, though, because
Yeah.
once they realize that they are Moors, nothing to be subservient to.
Nothing.
Right,
You
exactly.
know, because their perspective is off.
Right? And then just on that note, page 507, the African American community as a de facto third world nation. Now this is their guy, Black Power guy, telling them that they're a de facto, not first world nation, right? They're a de facto third world nation. Not even that they're a third world nation. They're de facto as African American.
Just that word, the de facto, is a lawful term.
So just that word,
Right there and then, that should
Just that word.
ignite them to like ponder that, like. to be
They
a
don't
de
listen to
facto,
their. They don't listen to their leaders. They don't listen to their leaders.
And the criminal code says that for section 15 too.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
they never listen and just put them.
Right. Well, a
Alrighty,
couple more questions that we got, and then we'll close out. What is the use of the writs? You gotta look up writs in there.
Oh, really?
And so, writ is just is short for written. So a writ is something that's written. Document.
So what was the question again?
Up.
You were asking for a definition of
Yeah. You're just looking it up, right? So this is part of the reason why we try to get people to make sure they have their quote unquote tools, what we call dictionaries. You know what I mean? Specifically law dictionaries, 4th edition and earlier of any title, whether it's Black's Law, Bouvier's, whatever, so that you can look up stuff when you come into things that you don't understand. Because we can say whatever. We can quote verbatim, but until you look at it yourself, until you read Free White Person yourself to realize Free White Person does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European race. Until you read that for yourself, you're never really going to get the perspective that, you got to stop calling these people white people, because it's not them. And if we're going to look at it from the perspective of, well, those are the white man's stuff, and that's the white man's books and all that stuff, then, like we said, the white man learned from the Moors. So what's the issue with using that as a reference? Obviously, there's Moorish influence there, right? You got there?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
So a writ, a precept in writing, couched in the form of a letter, running in the name of the king. Okay, that's very important. President or state, issuing from a court of justice and sealed with its seal, addressed to a sheriff or other officer of the law, or directly to the person whose action the court desires to command, either as the commencement of a suit or other proceedings, or as incidental to its progress, and requiring the performance of a specified act, or giving authority and commission to have it done. And just to add, it's a mandatory precept issuing from a court of justice.
Right? So, from our perspective, the concept of writ is the temple is your body that issues that, right? To sheriff, whoever else is out there that's trying to pretend that they have some authority over somebody. Mm-hmm. It's giving certain demands of them that if they don't adhere to the demands that's requested in the writ, then they're in default. And once they're in default, anything you say in that writ is really what it is, and they can't say anything after that, especially if you send it registered mail, especially if it's sealed, dated, etc. Right? So as time went on, the temple relinquished that authority because they started to say that this is religious. This has nothing to do with civics, writs and stuff like that. This has to do with, come in and pray, be good Muslims, and and do all that stuff. Sing hymns to Noble Drew Ali and all that. When really that's what temple is supposed to be really doing, to administer. They're not supposed to be sitting back, high chair, and people are coming in and just doing whatever that they want. You know, the people are supposed to be taken care of by the leadership. The leadership is not the head. The king that it talks about there is not the grand sheik or whatever like that. That's the people. The king is not the guy who says, yeah, I'm the supreme whatever of this group and now you guys have to follow me. That's not king. Because you can't have king without people. You can't have queen without people. You can't have head of anything without people. You can't have captain without people. You can't have anything without people. The people are an integral part to somebody having some claim of authority. In any capacity, whether it's corporate capacity, de facto, de jure, whatever. Right? And we know, you can go on the Canaanland Moors, and there's a class called Proof Writs Work, where we sat with a sister who had student loan and all that stuff, sent writs, and then student loan people sent her back stuff saying, oh yeah, sorry, you know, we didn't mean to whatever, we made a mistake and you have no debt. Not filing no UCCs or nothing like that, claiming straw man and all that stuff, none of that. Just writing a writ, sending it to these people who are claiming authority. And that's it. Right?
Well, I guess, in regards to writs, I think what most people are looking for is that when they send it, they're supposed to get a response.
Yeah. No response.
If you don't get a response, oh shoot, they didn't receive it.
Yeah.
But that's not the perception
Right,
you
that's
should
not
have.
really, right.
It's like, listen, a writ, this is the power of a writ.
The power of a writ.
It's written, it's been given, it's been registered, mailed to you, to CC to whoever else. It's out of my hands now. I've given you back what you've tried to come and get from me. Now, okay, it's yours. Now, if you don't receive a response, it's like, all right, shoot, we're not supposed to speak to them.
Right. And if you receive a response and it's not in accord with what you sent in the writ,
then
that's not a response.
That's not a response.
So if you send a writ for whatever, and then whatever sends you back the same thing that they sent you, that you initially sent the writ for, that's not a response.
That's not a response.
If you ask them certain questions in the writ and they reply to you with, well, our code of whatever says, you have to recognize whatever like that, that's not a response.
That's not a response.
Right? Because just same way that if they do it to you, put yourself in their shoes. Right? They send you something, asking you questions, and you send them back whatever, something totally contrary to what they sent. They're gonna tell you, we're going ahead with the judgment or whatever in their next letter. Because you didn't reply, you didn't respond, it wasn't in accord with what we, whatever. So know that, not because they send you back something means that that's a response.
No, exactly.
Like most times it's not.
So, no response. Don't worry about the response.
And the next question is, so if we are to do business only in our new name, how would we finance a home or a car? Well, the best way to finance a home or a car in your free national name is pay for it, don't finance it. Because as soon as you start playing financing, you're putting yourself in the jurisdiction of not being the sovereign. Because why would the sovereign finance something? The financer is obviously in the position of power.
Creditor.
The creditor is in the position of power. But then if it's a debt system, why are you financing in a debt system? And then, the only reason that somebody would say finance is if you're looking at some high-end whatever. You can take 2 G's and get a car. You can take 500 and get a car.
Like me, 100.
Yes.
100 and get a car. So when you start talking about financing, that's equivalent to people talking about, yeah, I want to claim a house, but they want to claim the $80 million mansion on top of the hill of some whatever, instead of the little broken down thing that's right there that they'll give them They won't even bother with them if they claim that.
Take it off their hands.
Right? So we have to tone down the things that we look at as what we want to obtain. We can't be in that mindset. Don't get in the mindset of these people who you see, they call themselves conscious, but you know, they got Bentleys and you know what I mean, they're conscious, but they got, you know, stacks of money like this, talking about, yeah, we're conscious, let's get money as conscious people. Don't even get caught up in that. Don't even get caught up in that. Because as soon as you get there, you're setting yourself up for failure.
All that paper was the money you sold out.
Right?
You sold out.
Yeah.
Those are all the people you sold
Right?
out.
Right? Don't even go there.
For your conduct, no?
Straight.
This might be a leap, but you see how you said we can claim like a house or what? Like put a notarial title on a property.
Yeah.
So which would be the best? Like if somebody was gonna sell their house privately versus selling the house through the bank. Could you put a claim on the house either or if it's privately sold or the bank sold?
The best things to, if you're gonna claim, the best things to claim are things that are abandoned.
Abandoned. So if it says for sale by bank or Remax.
I wouldn't play around with people's
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Because, you know, they have a claim on it.
Okay.
Even though it's illegitimate, even though it's not, you know, de jure, they still went through their little corporate, whatever like that, they made their claim, right? You can attempt, you can try, but, you know, it comes back to the same thing, that if we got all these properties out here that are abandoned, you know, why claim the one that somebody has a claim on?
How do you know which one's abandoned or not?
You go down to the clerk, land registry, whatever office, and they got a list of abandoned stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah, they'll tell you which ones are abandoned.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. And then
Just go on the computer.
and then you'd have to like sit in the house for a certain amount of time, file certain paperwork.
Yeah, file your paperwork, file your writs, file whatever you gotta file. But again, too, you know, that's why Noble Drew Ali stressed study, 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 and stressed man knows not by being told, which is supposed to force you to study if you want to know something. So if, you know, there are, and again, there are Moors, just like we do with everything else, just like we say with you know, right to travel. There's Moors who's been doing that. They have no issues. There's Moors who claim property, have no issues. There's Moors who got their mortgage discharged and all that, have no issues. There's Moors who had tickets, had charges, like, and everything dismissed because they stood on their status. So there are individuals out there that you can go to get some you know, level of information, but that's theirs because they sacrificed for that. And if you're not willing to sacrifice, like if I went out there, got my ass kicked, for me to be able to say, yeah, I'm more, I don't need to do anything out here with regard to straw man. You know, how do you do that? Well, I went out there and got my ass kicked. If you're not willing to get your ass kicked, then, you know, don't ask questions. Because guaranteed, they're not just giving it up. You know what I mean? They're not just gonna relinquish it just because you say. You know, they might. There's instances where it's happened like that, where somebody said, hey, sorry, and they take off running. Left the guy with the house. You know what I mean? And there's Europeans too, who've claimed stuff and got through with it, living in the house right now. But they didn't get told. I mean, they studied, and when everything was vibrating good here, then they went and did whatever it is that, you know, they were claiming that they were gonna do. Right? And if you are going to do the finance, mortgage, and all that type of stuff, because you have a right to contract in your own land, learn to live within contracts, reserve your rights. Anytime you sign anything with these people, reserve your rights. That's the release valve for what you could get if you don't reserve your rights. And then people come take your stuff and you thought, well, why you guys can't do that no more and all that? Well, you reserve your rights on that contract? No, well, then you gave them a window to do whatever they want. Right? Okay. Last question. In regards to protecting our personal assets in the trust of the Moor Science Temple, Divine and National Federal Government set up by Noble Juali, now in trust of Grand Sheiks, I have two concerns. I am not plugged into a temple and giving dues or supports on a regular basis. I am out of step there and desire to come correctly. I have learned and will continue to from your online classes, MHS, Sons of Allah, Blog Talk, RVB. So could I give ferns via PayPal to you in Canaanland Moors, worthwhile forums to enrich my knowledge? Or do you want real coins that I can set up via postal, via UPS mail to help build finance for our government? I live in Northwest New Mexico near Corporate State Territory, California, near San Pablo, Oakland area. Although I see Republic flag at times, I don't know if a temple in my area to physically attend. Secondly, how do I set up a trust for everything above a used piece of paper? Looking for a contact person for guidance. I'll be watching online. I do remember Jesus saying in the Bible that our body is the temple and of God, and he spoke in those days. And if we want to have fellowship, it is within our body. So first of all, with regard to the trust of the Moor Science Temple, that trust is compromised. So you might not want anything to do with that trust per se, because of the infiltration in the Moor Science Temple. Things attached to that have these issues, right? So you want to go, you got the trust book up there. You can get a book. There's an online book called the Wise Trustee Handbook. What?
Oh yeah, WEISS, WEISS Trustee Handbook.
WEISS Trustee Handbook, PDF online. Teaches you how to write trusts, how to create trust, what a trust is, laws that govern trust, all that stuff, right? So you want to get yourself familiar with trust law and what trusts are. As far as Canaanland Moors, we are accepting donations. We're not going to say that we're accepting dues, because as honorary members that have no temples where you are, and then you're saying, okay, well, I study from Canaanland Moor, so I'm gonna, get down with that temple. You're getting down with this temple as an honorary member, and whatever you give, there's no amount, there's no number on it, because we can't really provide anything for you other than information. This is a school. Moor Science Temple of America is a school. So, quote-unquote dues are really donations to the school. And if you want, make a request with your donation that, send me some DVDs or whatever, books, whatever like that. We got classes going on twice a week. And that's your payback for what you give financially. We're not going to say, we're not going to accept fiat, because that's what landlord, whoever else wants. So we're not going to take gold from you and give gold up as payment for anything, right? So send the fiat. You can do that through PayPal to culturaleducators@gmail.com, and we are working on seeing if money orders could work as well. So as soon as we get that cleared up, we'll put the word out to all the people who are honorary members. And what was the number amount?
25.
So we have so for all the people who
Well, can I
oh,
speak
you
on
wanna-
that
yeah,
quickly?
yeah.
I just wanna, because Islam family.
Islam.
Okay, in regards to the honorary members outside Canaanland territory, we have received in letter form about 25 already. Now, I was emailed within the past like 4 or 5 months by about maybe 45 to 50 different Moors wanted membership forms, honorary membership forms. Now, I am not going to send out, actually what I'm going to be sending out, let me rephrase that. I'm going to be sending out confirmation letters stating that you have handed in a membership form for the temple to honorary members. I will be sending this out. However, I am not going to send it out until I receive a letter form of your membership form. The reason for that is I want to have evidence that it was sent. Yes, you can email it to us and we will be able to accept that, but I would like to have physical evidence that you sent it to us. I would like to have wet ink of your appellation and title autographed on it. That way, as I said, we have evidence of it, that it was sent. So right now, as it stands, on Raphael, which is Wednesday, I will be sending out those confirmation forms to everyone that sent it online. And I'll be sending out about 25 of them. Now, in regards to the donations, as Grand Sheik just mentioned, whatever you could send, send. We cannot put a number on it. You know what I'm saying? It's an honor that y'all want to have information from us. That alone is like, it's beautiful, just beautiful. But in regards to everything else, whatever you could afford, send it. The money orders, we're working on it, as you just mentioned. We have the PayPal set up. You can send it through PayPal. Make sure you send us in regards to if there's a password or whatever we need, send that as well. So yes, so I will be sending out those forms, but if you've emailed me for a membership form and you have not sent it as yet, get it done with, I mean, there's no rush on it, but you know, just get it done. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. All right, Islam.
And also, for the people who are going to be giving donations, make sure in your PayPal message box, whatever, you specify that the finance is for dues. So, because we also get the same PayPal, we got CD sales and just people that just give donations or whatever. So if you are an honorary member, just make sure that you specify in the notes that whatever you're sending in is to be attached to your name as a donation, so we can document.
You said dues, but it's donation.
Yeah, donations.
No,
yeah.
no.
For the honorary people.
For honor.
For the honorary people, it's donations.
Oh, yeah.
Here it's dues.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You said
Yeah, here it's dues.
So the jurisdiction of here.
Yeah, the jurisdiction of Canaanland, it's dues.
All right.
Right, because we can.
No, brother.
Yeah.
I thought you were attaching it to the.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
that was my fault. So, all right.
No, well, more or less, well, if they could say it's dues, but it's a donation.
No, we should make it clear that when they're
Okay.
sending that they know for the record that they are donations, because
Okay.
remember we talked
Yeah, we talk about the.
Okay, I see what you.
the jurisdictional thing behind dues, right?
Yes. Okay.
Was there any questions, comments before we close out? That's good.
Oh.
All right. So we'll just close out Islam to all the Moors online. Peace, love, and no tap. Take the time. Barley. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. His holy prophet. Noble Ali. Islam. Ashik.
Shit.